In Glendora, 210 eastbound after Lone Hill Avenue, the right lane is taken out with a brand new wreck. It's going to be on and off the brakes from the 57. And in Santa Monica, 10 eastbound at Lincoln Boulevard, got a crash in the middle lanes. It's slow from the McClure Tunnel.
Need bucks? With Jackson Hewitt, don't wait weeks for the IRS to send your tax refund. Come in today for up to $3,500 with a no interest, no fee refund advance loan when you file your taxes at Jackson Hewitt. For eligible clients, loans by Republic Bank and Trust Company. Details at jacksonhewitt.com.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Lakers and Clippers did what they could today to keep pace with the Phoenix Suns, who made the trade of the year by acquiring Kevin Durant from Brooklyn. The Lakers traded guard Patrick Beverley to Orlando for 7-foot center Mo Bamba. They also sent center Thomas Bryant to Denver in exchange for shooting guard Devon Reed. The Clippers traded guards Reggie Jackson and John Wall and forward Luke Kennard. In return, the Clippers get backup point guard Bones Highland from Denver, veteran shooting guard Eric Gordon from Houston, and backup center Mason Plumlee from Charlotte. All NBA trading ended today at noon. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. This sports report was brought to you by Original Taco Pete's.
This is Aaron at Original Taco Pete's. Let us cater your Super Bowl party and future events. Call 323-348-4441 and visit us at 3272 West Slauson off Crenshaw.
What we're going to do right here is go back.
KBLA Talk 1580 is turning up the frequency in Black History Month. Be on the lookout for some familiar faces as the Metro K-Line is currently wrapped in KBLA Talk 1580. Make sure you visit the KBLA Talk 1580 online store, now open for business with all kinds of fresh merch. Don't miss a single episode of The Motivator, Les Brown's month-long radio residency. You've got to be hungry. Weekdays at 11 a.m. and 6 p.m. exclusively on KBLA Talk 1580. And afternoons just got real. Real people, real talk, real issues, real solutions. Be sure to check out Areva Martin in real time on your way home, weekday afternoons from 4 to 6. Turning up the frequency all.
This is Areva Martin in real time. I'm your host, Areva Martin. In this second hour, I am taking your calls. I want to hear from you. Give me a call at 1-800-920-1580. Again, that's 1-800-920-1580. And if you are watching the show on YouTube, drop us a comment. We will definitely respond to your comment. You can download the KBLA app and literally watch the show, listen to the show all over the globe. And don't forget to check out my podcast, Areva Martin in Real Time Podcast. Everywhere you find podcasts, you'll find my new podcast. In the news today, we're tracking a lot of news. House Republicans give President Biden a gift for his planned re-election announcement. They say will come as early as April. The heckling by certain Republicans during the State of the Union is thought to be Biden's new foil. Those extremist Republicans who Kevin McCarthy was trying to during the State of the Union have now given Joe Biden something to point to tell the country, look, it's not the Democrats, it is these extremist Republicans who are preventing the country from moving forward and preventing the Congress from getting things done that are important to you. New revelation that the College Board was in touch with Governor Ron DeSantis as it was deciding what courses would be included or excluded from those AP African American Studies courses. Now, of course, the College Board says it was not in any way influenced by Ron DeSantis or the Florida Department of Education, but it's hard to believe that they did not put their thumb on the scale and cause the College Board to eliminate some of the courses that Black scholars in particular say are critical to the teaching of Black history. And some Black scholars, even those in Florida, say they will continue to teach. The Mississippi legislature, well, that is a Republican legislator, has sponsored a bill that would give the legislator, the all-white legislators at least, the opportunity to make decisions about who would serve as judges and prosecutors in Jackson, Mississippi, which is predominantly white. Now, this legislator says that this is all being done to address high crime in Jackson. Now, Black legislators and even the mayor of Jackson are fighting back, saying this is nothing but another form of apartheid. And they said, how can you address issues of crime in a city without giving Black folks an opportunity to vote? We're going to keep our eye on what happens in Mississippi, particularly since this plan, this bill by this white Republican legislator would cause judges and prosecutors in Jackson to be appointed where all the other judges and prosecutors throughout the state are elected by the voters. New Jersey is fighting crime in a different way. It's pairing police officers with mental health professionals in an effort to de-escalate conflict with police. And abortion activists believe that Biden did not lean in enough on the issue of reproductive freedom in his State of the Union address. They want to see the president do more, be more vocal, be more out front on issues of abortion rights. And sadly, the death toll in Syria reaches more than 20,000 people. That devastating 7.8 earthquake on Monday has taken the lives of 20,000 plus people. Our thoughts and our prayers continue to go out to the people of Syria and those rescue efforts. We pray that they continue to be able to find people and that they find some people who miraculously maybe have survived the devastating earthquake. U.S. Intelligence Department confirmed that there was data collecting equipment on that Chinese spy balloon that was spotted over Montana. And they say that this is a part of a larger surveillance effort on the part of China, and that this won't be the last spy balloon that China floats over not only the U.S., but other countries as well as it continues its surveillance actions. We're also tracking what's happening with the Super Bowl. Yes, 30 million plus people expected to turn on their televisions and tune in to the Super Bowl on Sunday. And many will have their eyes on Rihanna. When we come forward, we're going to talk to a media and communication specialist about what Black folks, and particularly Black Twitter, has to say about this year's Super Bowl. Stay with us, KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Hi, Maisha Cairo here, KBLA, live at Chase Bank on Crenshaw and Vernon for the In This Together tour with female business owners, a day of empowerment, community panels, and best of all, tips on building business from marketing to capital. Today, I was able to speak with Ola Wadibia, VP of Women on the Move. Hi, Ola. Tell me a bit about this initiative by JP Morgan Chase, founded in 2013.
Women on the Move is a center of excellence at JP Morgan Chase in our global DEI organization, where we really focus on diversity, equity, and inclusion. What's really awesome about Chase's approach is that all of our centers of excellence, and there's 7 of them, focus on different demographic groups, is that we're really focusing on what's happening internally in the firm and also what's happening out in community. So really, Women on the Move is really focused on thinking about how do we help advance women professionally and personally.
I love it. So tell me about this beautifully updated banking branch here on Crenshaw.
That was really important. A part of our racial equity commitment was to build in place for Chase. So being able to revamp this beautiful space, to be able to welcome community members, today, anyone, nonprofit, organization, school can actually do events in our community center that we're sitting in here for. People come inside, grab a coffee, use the Wi-Fi. It's free.
Yes, Maisha Cairo in the community for KBLA with JP Morgan Chase.
Get ready for an intimate evening with Life Jennings. Valentine's night, February 14th at the Redondo Beach Performing Arts Center. Doors open at 7 p.m., showtime 8. Advance tickets start at $65. Life Jennings and special guests. Valentine's night at the Redondo Beach Performing Arts Center. For tickets, call 800-595-4849. For more info, call 323-849-9577 or visit jimsbenefitconcert.org.
The first time I tried to quit vaping, I told myself that it was like a mountain that I had to climb over. And once I got to the other side, it would be clear, but I couldn't make it over. What really got me to quit was my little sister. I saw her vaping. So I was back in the mountain, but this time she was up here with me. It's weird what you can do for others that you won't do for yourself.
Every attempt is part of your story to quit for good. Visit Kick It California today at kickitca.org.
I'm getting vaccinated with Prevnar 20.
So am I, because I'm at risk for pneumococcal pneumonia.
I'm asking about Prevnar 20 because there's a chance pneumococcal pneumonia could put me in the hospital.
Age 65 or older, you may be at increased risk for pneumococcal pneumonia. Ask your doctor or pharmacist about getting vaccinated with Prevnar 20, pneumococcal 20-valent conjugate vaccine, a Pfizer vaccine that can help protect against pneumococcal pneumonia in just one dose. Prevnar 20 is approved for adults to help prevent infections from 20 strains of the bacteria that cause pneumococcal pneumonia. Continued approval may depend on a supportive study. Don't get Prevnar 20 if you've had a severe allergic reaction to the vaccine or its ingredients. Adults with weakened immune systems may have a lower response to the vaccine. The most commonly reported side effect was pain at the injection site. For additional common side effects and full prescribing information, please call 1-855-213-2138 or visit Prevnar20.com.
I want to be able to keep my plans.
So I'm asking my doctor about getting vaccinated with Prevnar 20.
You are listening to Areva Martin in real time. I'm your host, Areva Martin, and I'm taking your calls in this hour. Give me a call at 1-800-920-1580. That's 1-800-920-1580. If you have a question, you have a comment. We've been tracking today's news, talking about the Super Bowl and the 30 million plus people who are going to be tuning in this Sunday for the Super Bowl. Many will just be watching to see the halftime performance of Rihanna. Also, my good friend Cheryl Lee Ralph is going to be singing, I think, either the Black National Anthem or some song she's going to sing right before the Super Bowl begins. So make sure you check out the beginning of the Super Bowl to give Cheryl Lee Ralph a lot of love. And of course, we want to support Rihanna. But the Super Bowl this year is happening in a time when the NFL sees itself embroiled in a lot of litigation, a lot of accusations and lawsuits have been filed, quite frankly, against the NFL. And as a civil rights attorney, one of these lawsuits really caught my attention. And that was a lawsuit that was filed actually today. 10 former NFL players filed a lawsuit against the commissioner, Roger Goodell, the NFL's benefit, claiming that the NFL's benefit plan wrongfully and arbitrarily denies disability claims. Now, these 10 former players who are the plaintiffs in this lawsuit include star running back Willis McGahee, and he's alleging that the NFL has engaged in this kind of systematic practice of denying players. And they say the reason they're being denied is because of money. Now, this lawsuit was filed in a federal court in Baltimore, and it's seeking a class action status. And what that means is they're saying to any former NFL player that has had their benefits denied, you too can join into this lawsuit. And if we are successful in getting a settlement or winning this lawsuit in court, you too can seek to participate in that settlement or whatever that court verdict, that jury verdict might be. So I want to unpack a little about what this lawsuit is really saying. It's not pretty. And in fact, if these allegations are true, oh boy, do we have a problem with the NFL, a much bigger problem than I think we even knew. So, all right, give me a call, 1-800-920-1580. We have a caller, Lynette from Los Angeles. You're on the line, Lynette.
A little privilege and pleasure to speak with you, Miss Martin. And
thank you
for this platform. And you are always really on point and just, enlightening. I've said this for years. Why don't they fire Roger Goodell for this $40 million earning self a long time ago? In fact, all of these folks that's trying to bust unions and these right to work states, I think that the Labor Department ought to crack down on these folks, really. It's really a shame. The workers' rights have been really taking a back seat. Renters' rights have been taking a back seat. These folks make way too much money oppressing people, and we need our reparations like way back
yesterday. Like yesterday. Well, thank you, Lynette. I'm in complete agreement with you.
Slave owners got paid reparations. Where's our?
No, good point. Good point, Lynette. And this lawsuit, this is going to be a blockbuster lawsuit because it's saying that the NFL has engaged in this conduct to prevent these players, these former players, many of whom have very serious, not just the traumatic brain injuries that we talked about in the first hour with CTE, but many of them have very serious orthopedic injuries. When they done playing, their backs, or they have back injuries, they have leg injuries, arm injuries. Many of them have debilitating injuries that prevent them from working other jobs. and definitely earning, anywhere near the money they earn in the NFL. And again, if these allegations are true, this is going to be a devastating blow to the NFL. And to your point, maybe the Federal Labor Commission gets involved, does its own investigation, and we start to see some real changes. I have on the line Avi Bernard. Avi is my counterpart. He's my producer, and he holds it down for me every Friday on Areva Martin in real time. Avi, I know you are an avid football fan, and you're going to be watching like those 30 million plus folks on Sunday. What do you think of this new lawsuit? I mean, how damning or damaging can this be to the NFL if these allegations that they engaged in this systematic denial of disability benefits to these players who were clearly, in some cases, according to this lawsuit, clearly in need of disability benefits?
I mean, it could be everything and it could be nothing. The NFL has been, I think we all know, they've been guilty of wrongdoing for probably their entire history, but somehow they always manage to find their way out of serious trouble. They have a lot of money. They can pay people off. I don't think in the end it'll end up being something that ends up being of note to them. They may have to pay a few $1 million here, a few $1 million there. I mean, in the end, they're going to keep on putting their product out and putting these players in jeopardy.
Wow. I would hope, well, as a civil rights lawyer, I'd like to think that lawsuits like this, class action lawsuits like this, have an impact, and they can change systems. They can change organizations, and we've seen it happen. We've seen, I'll give you the example of the tobacco industry. The tobacco industry was thought to be impenetrable. It was thought to be that you could not cause the tobacco industry to make any changes. And you may be too young. I don't know how old you are, but some folks listening today will remember there used to be big billboards all over major cities advertising cigarettes. There were cigarette ads on television, on radio, in print media. Everywhere you went, there was a cigarette ad. People were pushing, these big tobacco companies were pushing tobacco, even when they knew that nicotine was addictive, when they knew nicotine caused cancer, when they knew all the negative health consequences associated with nicotine. And it was because, I'll submit as a civil rights lawyer, it was because of those major lawsuits that were filed, those what we call just nuclear verdicts that were awarded against some of those big tobacco companies that caused the tobacco company to back all the way up. You can't drive down a big city street today and find a billboard advertising cigarettes. You cannot find a cigarette ad on television today, in radio. So we know the impact of class action lawsuits. We know the impact of what we call impact litigation on whole industries like the tobacco industry. So I don't know, Avi. I don't know. The NFL may not be impenetrable. If we can bring down through litigation the tobacco industry, I think we have a shot at the NFL.
Well, unfortunately, I am old enough to remember the advertisements you're speaking of. And here's the notable difference, though. Any one of us can go into any gas station or any liquor store and buy cigarettes. Most of us, 99.9% of us, will never touch an NFL field, will never put on an NFL helmet, and will know what it's like to be knocked unconscious or to receive a concussion by getting hit by a 260-pound linebacker. Now, mind you, I did play college football, and I love football still. I still watch it. I'm not saying that it's bad to watch it or anything like that. I think that and I do think the NFL has made some really good strides. But if you look at what's still happening, I mean, Tua Tagovailoa, the quarterback for the Miami Dolphins, he had at least 3 concussions this year, at least, and there were visible, disturbing concussions. One of which, was on prime time. I think it was Monday night against the Bengals, and his fingers contorted into it was because his brain had suffered an injury. I think it was the second time in like 4 days, and he was in concussion protocol for a month after the season ended. And this is 2022, 2023. This is still happening. We've known about concussions for a long time. And I'm not saying that it won't have any impact. I hope it does have an impact. I hope the NFL does continue to make these changes. I don't think that they're ever going to be stopped from putting their product on the field is what I'm saying.
Well, let me ask you this, Avi. Yes, you can walk into a liquor store or a big box store like Target, Walmart, Sam's, any Costco's, any number of those big box stores and buy cigarettes. For sure, you can do that. But we do know that the advertising in tobacco or tobacco ads have decreased dramatically. The sales of cigarettes have decreased dramatically, causing some of those big tobacco companies to have to diversify away from, relying solely on cigarette revenue in terms of how they sustain themselves. So we do know, again, it's had a huge, huge impact. But I wonder why fans like you and others, the 30 million that are going to be watching for the football, not for those fans like myself who are going to be watching for Rihanna and just watching for what's happening for the commercials and the news value of it, because this is the biggest news event happening on Sunday as well. But why don't you fans demand more? You love these players. You get to know these players, and especially now with social media, you get to have an inside look into their lives. You get to know their families. You can go to their Instagram pages and see when they have babies, when they have engagement parties and weddings and anniversaries. You can go on their exotic vacations with them because they post their lives, play by play of their lives on their Instagram pages. So you get to know these people. You get to have like an intimate relationship. Why aren't you fans demanding to the NFL, hey, if you want our loyalty, if you want us to keep watching your product, if you want us to keep buying your product, take care of these players?
Listen, you're talking to someone who didn't watch the NFL for 2 years after they blackballed Colin Kaepernick. And I think that I think our demands have been towards the NFL to make the players safer and to make the conditions better. But I just think that we're going to continue to watch because we enjoy it. We're hooked on it. We're addicted to it. And I think we are holding them to account to a certain degree. I mean, if you look at the Pro Bowl that was played this past weekend, it was a flag football game. All right. They're no longer, this game is changing. The league is changing. And so I think the incremental changes that you are seeing are enough for most people. I think,
but Avi, 92% of the players in this test have CTE. These guys will be dead by the time you all demand any kind of real change and any kind of urgent change. Look, I want to talk to Sean. He's calling in from Oakland. Sean, you're on the air.
Wonderful topic. There's a bunch of issues here. Well, first off, my favorite all-time all-around athlete is Bo Jackson. That's my age. And he even mentioned that if he knew what we know today, he wouldn't have his kids play and probably himself. So we all know what's going on out there. And there's a couple of things to think about. Number one, players that play any professional sport, but let's just stick to football. They may be lucky if they play 3 years, maybe 4 years. So the amount of money they get, we live in this weird society that thinks, oh, these spoiled athletes, blah, blah, blah. You try to earn in 3 years what you're going to live on for the rest of your life. No way. And so there's going to be tons of litigation I see going forward in the future. I'm about to attend a Super Bowl party in Scottsdale this weekend where there will be some of the foremost brain experts. It's, the movie was made, Jerry Maguire, Lee Steinberg has a party. And I'm lucky enough to be there. He's an old family friend. And so I'm going to go down and I'm going to listen to these people and I'll definitely report back to you and see what they say. But, the brain moves around inside the head. So no matter what the helmet is, you put leather helmets back on these cats, I don't think they're going to be mashing each other's heads. They might get a lot more stitches, but we're not going to go that route. But I'm just saying it's a very sensitive subject because it can ruin families' lives, Junior Seau.
And you raise a good on 3 or 4 years you play, you end up with a brain injury. You have not earned enough money to support you and a family over the course of a lifetime. Now people living to be 80 and 90 years old, and you are left. Again, I go back to my friend. I have a friend. She's in her 30s. Her husband is in his 30s. He played for maybe 8 years. This guy, she says, will not leave the house. They have 3 children. She says she feels like a single mom, that he sits in a dark room, almost comatose. She cannot get him to leave the house. She cannot get him to go to work. She cannot, get him to function. And it is because he has, some kind of injury. And he has been like these 10 players who have filed this lawsuit. She says they have been through the ringer trying to get disability benefits for him, that the NFL has not been supportive of her husband. And she wants to go public and talk about all the players who, when they leave, if they didn't have those mega contracts, some of these guys are destitute. And they're not getting benefits. So again, Avi, I go back to you. The fans, are you all jumping up and down about the fact that a lot of these guys end up like my friend's husband, unable to function and no money?
Let me just say, I actually coached high school football for 6 years, high school and middle school football. And when I was coaching was back in like the early 2010s. And during that time, they started to mandate that all coaches go to a concussion seminar. And one of the things that we learned in that seminar is that if a player plays for 2 or 3 years in the NFL, he's likely not going to get the CTE from that. CTE comes when you've played for more than 6 years. And if you do the math, if you play 4 years of college football, 4 years of high school football, I mean, you can get it from that. But mostly what they said is it's going to be when you play younger. When you start your kids when you're younger than 12 or 11 years old, your neck muscles are still developing. They have these kids playing at 6 years old. And I think when you're starting to play that young, that's when a lot of these brain injuries start. That's the inciting event for these brain injuries. When you have them playing, these little kids playing, their brains aren't fully developed, and they're playing all the way until they're 22, 23. So by the time that they do get to the NFL, even if they do play a couple of years, then that's how that happens. But if you start playing in high school and then you go to college, and then most players are not going to go to the league. I'm not saying that this is not a horrible situation. I'm just laying out what I learned from being involved with these football players.
No, and I appreciate your firsthand account, Avi. The report that I'm reading from Boston University does not distinguish the number of years that you're in the league. What it says is the repeated trauma to your head, and it's not the big blows, it's just the repeated blows to the head, which they identify as the cause for the CTE injuries that were diagnosed in these 92% of the folks who were in the study. Ken, you're on the line. Good.
Guys who have the opportunity to make it to the NFL to pass on it. Soccer has a higher rate of CTE than football because they're from heading the football on a constant, the soccer ball on a constant basis. So I mean, these guys, this is their one opportunity. I mean, the minimum salary in the NFL is over $500,000 a year. Even if you play 2 or 3 years, you've got a great start. I mean, are they going to pass this up?
But Ken, you're making an argument. 2 wrongs don't make a right. The fact that there are CTE injuries in soccer that are perhaps greater than in football doesn't make that right. Then there's a problem with soccer as well as football. And I hear you. You make $500,000, but wait a minute. You make $500,000 for 2 or 3 years, and then you get out the league. You're 30 years old. You got 60 more years to live. 25. You're comatose. You're depressed. You have memory loss. You have Parkinson-like symptoms. So you cannot function in the world. Was that 500? Let's multiply it by 4. That $2 million. Was that really worth it? Stay with us, Ken. Ken, I need you to hold. Got to take some news, sports, and traffic. We're going to come back to this conversation because I see you are already impassioned. KBLA Talk 1580. We'll be back with more on this topic of NFL, Super Bowl, and CTE injuries.
More of Areva Martin in real time when we come forward.
I'm Doug Davison. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. The House Minority Leader is being pressed about debt ceiling negotiations.
And so what we have continuously said to our Republican colleagues is simply put your cards on the table.
New York Democrat African-American Hakeem Jeffries echoed President Biden's comments in the State of the Union address by saying this is about repaying debts already agreed to by Congress. The men who broke the color barrier in the military have a permanent display at the Southern California Museum. San Diego Air and Space Museum's Tuskegee Airmen exhibit features a fighter plane along with paintings and photographs of the men described as American heroes. Billboard is naming its top 10 greatest rappers of all time. Jay-Z was given top honors, while Kendrick Lamar and Nas round out the top 3. In fourth is Tupac, followed by Eminem and the Notorious B.I.G. And that is the latest. I'm Doug Davis from the Black Information Network at BINnews.com.
In Westminster, 405 northbound right at Bolsa Avenue, got a brand new accident. The 2 middle lanes are blocked and it is stacked up coming away from the 73. In Glendora, 210 eastbound after Lone Hill Avenue, the right lane is taken out with a brand new wreck. It's going to be on and off the brakes from the 57. And in Santa Monica, 10 eastbound at Lincoln Boulevard, got a crash in the middle lanes. It's slow from the McClure Tunnel.
Hi, I'm Kyle at Blindster.com. I sell custom-made blinds, shades, and shutters that are easy to install at prices less than big box retailers. Blindster blinds are custom-made for your windows, and I guarantee they'll fit. Don't hire a pro. Do it yourself and save big at Blindster.com.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Lakers and Clippers did what they could today to keep pace with the Phoenix Suns, who made the trade of the year by acquiring Kevin Durant from Brooklyn. The Lakers traded guard Patrick Beverley to Orlando for 7-foot center Mo Bamba. They also sent center Thomas Bryant to Denver in exchange for shooting guard Devon Reed. The Clippers traded guards Reggie Jackson and John Wall and forward Luke Kennard. In return, the Clippers get backup point guard Bones Highland from Denver, veteran shooting guard Eric Gordon from Houston, and backup center Mason Plumlee from Charlotte. All NBA trading ended today at noon. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. This sports report was brought to you by Original Taco Pete's.
This is Aaron at Original Taco Pete's. Let us cater your Super Bowl party and future events. Call 323-348-4441 and visit us at 3272 West Slauson off Crenshaw.
Hi, this is Tavis.
Harris, this is Dr. King. We've got a lot to talk about. I'll be in town on the 28th of February. Can you clear your calendar?
Absolutely, Dr. King. Good Lord, do I have some questions for you, sir. Hi, it's Tavis.
Assalamu alaikum, my brother. This is Minister Malcolm. Now, I heard that you and Martin are getting together for a public dialogue on February 28th. You see, now I already know the date. I know y'all not trying to keep me out of that conversation, are you?
No, sir. No, sir.
What happened to George Floyd shouldn't happen, not even to a dog. How long must the Negro continue to endure this foolishness at the hands of law enforcement? People can take but so much before they reach a breaking point. What do you mean, Black Lives Matter? Black lives haven't mattered in this country since Negroes stopped working for free at the end of slavery. You ought to be talking about Black Guns Matter and start your own NRA. Call it the Negro Revolutionary Amalgamation.
Don't miss this compelling historic radio event, The Return. When Tavis Smiley converses with Malcolm X and Martin Luther King Jr. Tuesday, February 28th, 9 a.m. Pacific Time, exclusively on KBLA Talk 1580.
Hi, it's Lynn Richardson with the Millionaires Roundtable. Have you heard about Lendistry? Come on now. Lendistry is a national Black-led small business lender that is headquartered right here in LA. Once you've started your business, Lendistry provides flexible financing options starting at $50,000 to help you access the affordable capital needed to grow. Whether financing is needed to increase working capital, acquire a business, purchase inventory and equipment, or refinance debt, Lendistry has a solution for you. Lending products range from traditional business term loans and lines of credit to SBA 7A loans and commercial real estate financing. Lendistry's pre-application process is simple and does not impact your credit score. Visit lendistry.com/KBLA. That's LENDISTRY.com/KBLA to learn more and get started with an application right on the website.
Here at McKay's Family Mortuary, we offer a full line of services with a fine selection
caskets, and urns. Also, assistance with cemeteries, along with luxury limousine and funeral coaches, and other needs pertaining to your family's wishes for your loved one. We accept Veterans Victim Witness Program for mortuary services only at zero cost to you. Cemetery selection does not apply. All insurances are accepted. McKay's Funeral Home understands that saying goodbye is never easy. That's why we've been providing compassionate and professional funeral services to the community for over a decade. Please contact McKay's Family Mortuary, serving Los Angeles, San Bernardino, and Riverside counties and the High Desert. 3918 Marine Avenue, Lawndale, California. 310-978-8877. That's 310-978-8877. By appointment only or log on to mckaysmortuaries.com.
The Los Angeles Urban League and Parkside EDC will help you make more with what you have on Thursday, February 9th at 6 p.m. Register for this free workshop now at laul.org/BWAARP.
If you feel sick, test to know if it's COVID. Treat it. Medication is key to slow the virus in your body. Beat it. Recover smoother. You may test negative sooner. California, you know you need it. Test it, treat it, you can beat it.
Yeah. Visit youcanbeatit.org or call 833-422-4255 to ask for medication to treat COVID-19. Sponsored by the California Department of Public Health.
Tune in to More Than That with Gia Peppers live this Sunday at 4 p.m. on KBLA or wherever you listen to podcasts. This episode of More Than That is brought to you by Chevrolet, helping HBCU students develop stories that make a difference. Chevrolet, find new roads.
I'm taking your calls at 1-800-920-1580. Give me a call if you have a question or a comment. We are talking about the trending news leading up to the Super Bowl. The NFL is in hot water. There is a lawsuit that was filed today by 10 former players who are seeking class action status. They claim that the NFL systematically denies players who have been injured, former players who have injuries, that they are denied disability benefits, and that the reason they're denied benefits is for financial gain for the NFL. And we also know the NFL has been sued by Black coaches who claim that they have been racially discriminated against. And there's also a new study out that's Boston University did, where 92% of the participants in its study, former NFL players, tested positive for CTE. All right, I have Ken on the line. Ken says that getting CTE and being denied disability benefits is worth it because of the money you make in the NFL. Now, you didn't say that exactly, Ken, but you have a comment. Go ahead, Ken.
I think that, you know, these players come from minority communities, obviously, and there's for most of, I'm associated with more than a dozen guys who have played in the NFL, from family members to guys that I play with, and none of them have CTE. So all players are not going to get it. The game is much safer today than it's ever been because they've taken the head tackles out of the game. And I just think that it's a risk. You know, there's 22 service members that commit suicide a day in this country. There's acceptable risk. I mean, you know, you know, they sign up for this. They know the risk. And it's a dream. It's a chance to make some money in a short period of time. And these guys are never going to stop.
I hear you, Ken, but the question I ask Avi is, you obviously love the game. You obviously love individuals who play the game. Why don't fans like yourself, like Avi, like the 30 million plus fans that are going to tune into the Super Bowl on Sunday, demand more from the NFL? Because you can play the game, according to what you're saying, and play it safely. They could still have the fame and the fortune, but they could have lives after the game that aren't, you know, they can have healthy lives. They don't have to be injured, disabled. And I don't know, that number you're citing about CTE, it seems to be inconsistent with this Boston University study. I know you said personally the folks you know don't have it, but this study is pretty compelling that a huge percentage of these guys will have CTE. But why aren't the fans demanding more?
Well, one thing that we should mention,
because I think these fans, they love the game, and it's something that it's just an acceptable risk. These guys, like I said, they sign up for this. Most of these guys are not going to have CTE. I don't know how many people were in that study obviously there's a lot they don't have it. So I mean,
Well, one thing that we should
singling
mention,
out
though, one thing we
a
should
lot of
mention,
big
Ken,
name players and players that have come down with it, but I don't know. I mean, I don't see the alternative.
one thing that we should
I want to
mention,
know, Avi, though, when allegations from this lawsuit come out, this lawsuit that these plaintiffs are seeking class status for, claiming that the NFL stacks the deck against them and their disability claims, that they hire the same doctors, that these doctors are biased towards the NFL. Do you think those kinds of allegations, where the NFL that obviously is making billions and billions of dollars, is denying guys that made them those billions of dollars their disability benefits? Something about that is just unfair. It's ugly. It's disgusting to me. If I made you all that money, if I put my life at risk, if I'm risking these injuries and then I am injured and you won't even give me my disability benefits, that should cause some people to just be outraged.
I want to be perfectly clear that I'm not sitting up here in defense of the NFL. If the NFL is guilty of what they're being accused of, then they should pay. And I hope that those players get all the money they're asking for and more. And one thing that we should mention in regards to Ken's comments are that we don't know who has CTE. You know, it doesn't show up until much later. It's something that can't be diagnosed until after the person is deceased and their brain has been examined postpartum. So we don't know who has CTE. It's not even players who have CTE, people who have CTE, it doesn't show up right away. It shows up many years later. And even if players are experiencing symptoms, it's not always visible to us on the outside. And so,
no, great point. So we don't know, Ken. We don't know if these guys that you say don't have CTE, they very well may have it. We won't know until they die and there's an autopsy performed on their brains, and symptoms may show up later in life. But I want to ask you, Ken, the same question I asked Avi. If the allegations in this lawsuit are true, that the NFL is purposely, intentionally, systematically denying injured players disability benefits that they rightfully are entitled to by stacking the deck with these biased doctors, would that, is that a reason for you to be outraged?
Yeah, I mean, it is. I mean, I know it's true. I mean, like, I have two cousins that played in the league, so I know that they deny these benefits and everything, and it all is based upon when you played, because everything after 1993, these players get more money into their pensions and everything past 1993, and the older players they virtually get nothing. So I mean, a lot of this is true, but I mean, it's like with anything else. We don't talk about our U.S. government. Like I said, 22 people commit suicide, service members per day. Not to mention all the mental illness that people who have went to our wars and fought for this country. But nobody talks about any of that because.
But Ken, you're wrong. We talk about that. We call out the government. We call out anybody. We don't discriminate. We are an equal opportunity caller out station. We call out folks who need to be called out. And yes, veterans who come home with PTSD and all kinds of other, health problems. We absolutely do call out the U.S. government. And we know, unfortunately, veterans are also poorly treated in this country. So again, I go back to my two wrongs don't make a right. The fact that there are veterans who come home with injuries and there are football players who have injuries. We want to, and look, let me just be clear. I'm not anti-football. What I am anti is an employer like the NFL wrongfully and illegally denying people access to disability benefits that they otherwise should receive. I am against a league. Wait a minute. I'm against a league that does not use every safety precaution available to it to protect its players, because at the end of the day, the NFL is an employer. So if you work for McDonald's McDonald's is regulated. It has to follow certain safety protocols to make sure that the employees that work at McDonald's are not suffering injuries, that they're not subject to dangerous conditions while flipping those hamburgers. So the NFL doesn't get a pass because, it happens to be an employer that pays millions of dollars rather than minimum wage. But at the end of the day, they are an employer. And I guess my beef with them is that they get seemingly a great big pass. They get treated differently, and the fans are willing to overlook the serious safety gaps related to football. Whereas if you walked into a McDonald's and you saw hot oil splashing out of those fryers onto, teenage kids, everybody would be up in arms about that. Stay with us. KBLA Talk 1580. We'll be
See the Black Hollywood, the reimagining iconic movie moments by celebrity photographer Augustus Carrell. Augustus is a Los Angeles-based photographer whose career has taken him around the world to shoot some of the biggest stars on the planet. Carrell, along with celebrities featured in the book, will host a book signing and panel discussion about classic Hollywood with today's iconic entertainers. An unprecedented photography book that brings
Avi, it seems like there's no subject like the NFL to get people talking and not necessarily agreeing. But I do want to thank Ken for his thoughtful comments and Morris and Lynette as well. Phone lines are still open, 1-800-920-1580, 1-800-920-1580. Give us a call. I do want to move on, though, from the NFL's legal problems, Avi, and talk about Rihanna. She's making headlines by appearing at the Super Bowl this Sunday, but it was just 2019 when she made other headlines by boycotting the Super Bowl. I don't know if you remember, but after Colin Kaepernick began kneeling during the national anthem before games, she actually declined the opportunity to perform at the Super Bowl, saying, absolutely, I couldn't dare do that. For what? Who gains from that? Not my people. I just couldn't be a sellout. I couldn't be an enabler. So when folks are watching the Super Bowl and watching their beloved Rihanna, and I'm hearing that she's going to really highlight Barbados and Black culture and so much of her music catalog, and she's a new mom. She's got a 9-month-old baby, so there are lots of reasons to love her. But are people going to think back to those 2019 comments about her being where she said, if I did it, I'd be a sellout? What do you think?
Well, before I answer that, just real quickly, I think the only thing that will make people call in more is saying that OJ did it. If you tell Black people OJ did it, they will call in. We're not going to talk about that now. I'm just saying that.
Okay, we got to have a whole show on did OJ do it? Okay, and the glove.
But
we'll talk about that.
In regards to Rihanna, though, I mean, it is striking when you listen to those comments now, knowing that she is going to be headlining the Super Bowl halftime show. And I think Jay-Z partnering with the league and becoming kind of like their curator of music, I believe, I think that kind of put a lot of people at ease. And that's why when Jay-Z did partner with them initially, I was kind of disappointed because I wasn't ready to stop being mad at the NFL. I think that him doing that kind of gave a lot of people a pass to start working their way back to the NFL and saying, all right, I mean, we love it anyway. It's kind of like that relative you can't continue to be mad at. And I think I don't think we can really fault Rihanna, or we can't necessarily fault the fans for continuing to watch, because I think it's nuanced. You do have a lot of people that and that play and that you want to support. And it's hard to just put out a blanket statement or have the blanket perspective that I am never going to watch an NFL game again. And you can try to hold them accountable, and you can watch and you can see what's going on. And then when things do happen, you can go to social media and say, this is unbelievable, this is unacceptable. And I think the NFL is going to be much more amenable to that now that there is a social media platform like Twitter and others that are going to highlight their misdeeds and their shortcomings, and they're going to be much more likely to change now.
All right, Avi, I'm going to agree with you that the issues related to the NFL and Black players and race and their, the claims that they are screwing over the players and not providing them with disability benefits, that it's a lot there. But this notion that people just can't stop watching a game, I got to disagree about that. People stop doing a whole lot of things. And I just think there isn't the will, because people value their entertainment and watching a sport that they have come to love over making a statement about not watching it. And Jay-Z is very powerful, no doubt about it. He's, just was named the #1 rapper of all times. And he's broken so many barriers and so many reasons to respect Jay-Z, but Jay-Z ain't always right. And just because somebody we love does something doesn't mean we all have to fall in line. So I don't know. I just think we should not so easily suggest that we all have to watch the Super Bowl. And maybe if one of these years, rather than turning on our televisions, we all went outside and took a walk or did something healthy, the NFL would get the message. I just think that we as people have so much power, and we've seen what the power of people can do to move and change institutions. And I don't think we have, put that power to play. We haven't used the full extent of our power in trying to bring the NFL to its knees, no pun intended, and to cause it to do something different. And I think if we decided all collectively, particularly Black folks, and that gets me to this other point that's kind of driving me crazy is, are they pandering to Black people? I love Rihanna. I love Dr. Dre. I love Snoop. I love that halftime show last year with a passion, but two Black quarterbacks. They couldn't control that, right? That just happened. So that wasn't planned. But do you feel like this overcompensating? Like if we give Black folks Black entertainers, then maybe they'll turn a blind eye to how there are so few Black coaches and so few Black owners. That's kind of what it feels like to me. Like give them a bone and that dog will go away.
I think there's an element to that. I think that that's part of it, but I also think that they want to get the best entertainers in the world, and Rihanna is certainly among the best entertainers in the world, as are their performers. Last year, you had Snoop Dogg, Dr. Dre, Kendrick Lamar, I mean, some of the best rappers in history. And so I think that, of course, they do want to please their African-American fan base by putting out there some of the best African-American entertainers.
But they don't want to please us, Avi, by making us coaches and owners. So
no, they don't. Of course not. No, they don't want to please us like that, because that's not going to be as visible. And I think that there is a push among people who are our fans, like myself, to continue to see improvement in the diversity in the coaching and the ownership. And I think that that's part of the reason why we watch, is we want to see what's going on and want to see, are they getting better? And so yeah, I mean, the NFL is doing some pandering, but also those entertainers are people that everyone wants to see, regardless of what they are.
Would it be amazing if Rihanna, when she took the stage, if she made a statement? How about that? What about if she addresses this issue? Because there's an elephant in the middle of the room. And the elephant is, just 4 years ago, she said she would be a sellout to be on the stage at the Super Bowl. And those of us who are news junkies, those of us who follow Rihanna, who follow the news, that's going to be in the back of our minds as we watch her. And you're right, she's one of the world's best entertainers, so they want the best, and they obviously have the money to pay the best. But there's an elephant in the middle of that room. So what are your predictions about what she may or may not say when she takes that stage?
I would love if she would say something. I think that if she tried to, if she got, the further along she got, the more likely it would be that they would cut to commercial, like they did when they had the wardrobe malfunction with Britney Spears and Justin Timberlake, or Janet Jackson and Justin Timberlake. And so yeah, I mean, I would love if she did. But
I don't know. I can't see in 2023 with Twitter, with social media, them cutting the mic on a Black woman who is addressing the issue of race.
They will cut. They will cut. I mean, it depends on what she's saying.
Well, you're probably right that there's not going to be a statement. I'm out of time. Avi, thank you for your sports insight, your knowledge, invaluable to this conversation. We're all going to be watching the Super Bowl, some of us for different reasons. You're going to be back here in this seat tomorrow with more on the lead up to the biggest entertainment event in television history. It ends up being one of the most watched television shows every year. So I don't expect anything to be different this year. So tune in to Areva Martin in real time tomorrow, because my partner in real time, Avi Bernard, will be in the seat. And up next, after some news, traffic, and sports, the next voice that you hear will be Les Brown. He is in a radio residency the entire month with KBLA. You got to be hungry with Les Brown. Follow me on all social media platforms at arevamartin.com. I'm out.